What you're about to listen to is a Bry-Fy production. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast. I'm your host, Bry-Fy, your comics guy, and my God, people, we are one day out from Comicpalooza. It's going to be tomorrow, Friday, May 26th, 27th, and 28th, because it goes Saturday, Sunday, too. And I cannot tell you how it... Well, I mean, I can tell you. That's the whole idea of the podcast, is to tell you things. But I just... What is that fucker doing? Holy shit. Sorry, I am recording while driving, and I just watched someone swerve into oncoming traffic, my lane specifically, to pass a car on the left side. So he crossed double yellow lines to pass. Wow. Just wow. But you know where you're safe from idiot drivers? Comicpalooza, Houston, Texas. At the George R. Brown Convention Center, downtown Houston, Texas, which is right next to beautiful Discovery Green, Minute Maid Park, to Toyota Center, the Dynamo Stadiums. Even like, there's tons of sports stadium, there's tons of park, there's tons of restaurants, all kinds of great things. One of my favorite places to eat down there is a place called Biggio's. It's a sports bar, but it's really great. It has like upgraded concession stand type food. Like there's barbecue and like burgers, hot dogs. It's one of my favorite places to eat because I love watching sports, and they have huge screens over there. They got a 2-story wall with like 3 or 2 projector screens that are showing games and stuff. I don't know if the Astros will be in town this weekend. If they are, I might even try to swing a bit of a game as well as hit the convention scene too. I don't know. It's like I'm there for the weekend. Let's do it all, you know. And you can do that there, which is a blast. And like I would love for everyone to grab tickets, go to Comicpalooza, see me on the main floor on Saturday at 3 p.m. So that's May 27th at 3 p.m. I'll be on the convention floor doing a live podcast and interacting with you guys and having a lot of fun with that. So come out and see that. But hey, I get it. You know, not everyone just has the spare income to buy tickets to a convention and then spend all the kind of money. But you know what you can do, what is also great, is if you're just in the area, there's tons of things going on outside of the convention that you can still enjoy and be a part of. There'll be food trucks outside. People are usually doing some types of shows. Normally they have either like an ice sculptor or a wood sculptor doing some kind of cool nerdy shit, like, you know, sculpting out nerdy shit. Cosplayers everywhere. There'll be cool cars that people are showing off. It's like Tokyo Drift, but, you know, in the incredible, deadly, sweaty summer of Houston. But there's tons of things. So you don't even have to go into the convention to be a part of the convention, which is like one of my favorite things about Comicpalooza. It's just so massive. It's impossible to contain. Also, what's really great too is all the different like bars and other kind of stuff in the area are typically involved some way or another because they know their clientele. They know what the clientele is going to be that weekend. And so if you love nerd shit, you love drinking, there's tons of things in the area. I know I'm planning on hitting up Cidercade, which is just a couple of blocks away from the convention center, where it's you like pay $10 or $15. I think it's $10 for a day, and you can go in, play all the games you want, tons of arcade games ranging from like way back to like 60s era or like 70s era to like current games now, and it's unlimited play. You can buy drinks there. It's a blast, dude, and I can't wait to do that this weekend. So yeah, that's Comicpalooza and just downtown Houston, Texas this weekend. Please come out, please say hi, or just swing by, you know, and it'll be a ton of fun. But that's it for Comicpalooza news. Let's talk a little bit about what we got going on today. I got no nifty nerd news other than my own nerd news. And then we're going to talk about, I finally watched a movie that's been out for a while, but it finally hit streaming services. Because you know me, I don't typically go out to watch movies in theaters anymore. One, it's just I think COVID has ruined that for me, and every time I hear someone cough, I can't help but, cringe a little and get a little like, uh-oh. Some pearl clutching going on right there. But also I realize, you don't need to go out to enjoy these things. And sometimes I actually really enjoy the comfort of my own home watching movies and stuff. I mean, hell, I got a nice theater system. Well, not theater, but I got a really nice TV and a sound bar. Like, why not use it? I pay the money for that, so why not use it? And then, of course, we'll talk. I got some comic stuff too that I wanted to talk about this week. So let's take a short break so I can catch my breath and take a drink, and then we'll get into just what I've been digesting myself with, or what have I been diving into? That's a better word than digesting. Well, I mean, I have been digesting content, but what have I been getting into this week? All right, guys, so in this short break, I just had another Final Destination moment. I'm driving out to work on the back country roads, and a fucking crop duster. I know it's safe, and I know he knows what he's doing, because I live in this area. I see crop dusters all the time. They're like small airplanes fly over crops to spray pesticides and other cleaning things on top of them. But his route that he was taking to turn around to hit back on the crops took him right over the road, and the field is right next to the road, so he's low enough where I'm staring at him and realizing his nose is lining up to the front of my vehicle, and I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna lose it and just kill me immediately. I'm gonna be in a head-on collision with an airplane. How do you explain that to God? How drunk were you when you were driving? No, not my fault, I swear to God. But yeah, man, swerving vehicles, crazy planes, last day of school, it's terrifying. Anyway, getting into things that I've been doing. Let's talk about the comic books that I've been reading this week before we get into the movie and, video game news, or video game stuff that I've been diving into. So over in comic books, of course, if you guys listen to the podcast, I do all my reading on Marvel Unlimited. So it's not a free service. It's a subscription service, electronic comic book site where they're a few months behind. So if you want to be caught up with the current comics that are coming out, right now, right this moment, this is not the podcast for you. I do all my reading with Marvel Unlimited, which I think is fair. It gives some time for spoilers for the people who are reading the comic books currently. And what I've decided to do, because at first I was just trying to catch up with old stuff to try to catch up current, and I get bored with that. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of trying to get through comics that typically, let's be honest, that I'm not interested in. And so now the way that I'm doing it is they do weekly new releases on Wednesdays on Marvel Unlimited, the app. So it's just like going into a comic book shop on Wednesdays, New Comic Book Wednesday, and grabbing new comics, except, these ones are a few months delayed, and it's all electronic. So I still get enjoyment out of it, and I still, it scratches that itch of reading a new comic book on the new day, and hopefully that carries over to you guys. Wow, someone just destroyed that speed limit sign. Not just now. I see it. It's all bent out of shape and stuff. Wow, this is a treacherous road apparently. But so yeah, there's two comics I wanted to point out because they were really the only two comics I got around to reading yesterday. But the first one is Storm issue number 1 for 2023. I forget the writer and artist on both of these comics I'm going to talk about, but I remember the story and I remember how it made me feel, and that's what we're going to talk about. And so for me, if anyone's listened to any of my past podcasts that I've ever done, like the first iteration of Bry-Fy and Small Town Nerd, I'm not a huge X-Men reader. I've just, not that I don't find them interesting, it's just they've never really pulled me to their stories. I know Wolverine, I know Colossus, I know Cyclops, I know Jean Grey, I know Storm. I know the characters. They've always crossed over into other books that I've read, but I've never had that pull to want to read X-Men books. But I saw story number 1. I thought this would be a cool hopping on point, and I decided to check it out. I don't know if I was right or wrong in my decision. So the story is Storm is now leading the team of X-Men. Or she has her own special team that she's leading within the X-Men, and they are going to what looks like an amusement park to start fighting members of the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood, for what I can tell, is evil X-Men, are like, evil mutants that, well, we won't say evil, but they definitely they don't want mutants to be on equal terms with humans. They want them to be better than humans. Whereas the X-Men, they're just looking for equal rights. Like that, quit harassing us. Let us just be us. And so that's kind of where I feel like the two factions are, and where they sit, and how they're handling things. Brotherhood, they want what's best for mutants and damn everyone else. And the X-Men want what's best for everybody. Like, they want everyone to be happy, harmonious, or whatever the word is. Harmonious. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Homogeneous. I don't know what word I was looking for there. But Storm is going through a lot of issues with her team because, one, I guess she's been off doing her own thing. She is like a queen over in Africa. I forget which country she's a queen of, or, like what she does over there. It's not Wakanda. I think at one point she was like queen of Wakanda. I think that's a storyline too. I don't know, man. Comics are crazy. And then she's always had like long flowing white hair and things like that. But now her image has changed. She's like this cool biker chick with a mohawk and shit. Looks badass, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't sit well with everyone on the X-Men, which I kind of found interesting because, I thought diversity and inclusion was their thing, but Kitty Pryde seems really upset at Storm for some reason, which I didn't understand. And now Rogue, who was a part of the Brotherhood at one time, is now back on the side of the X-Men. And, she kind of is pushing Storm a little bit too. So there's these inner struggles within the team that they're getting the job done, but they're definitely not making each other happy during the fight, which, typically you want to be able to trust your teammates and trust that they're going to make the right choices. But it seems like in this fight between them and the Brotherhood, you can see some contention. Even though there is some good teamwork, there's definitely some back and forth between the members of the X-Men that kind of leads you to believe maybe things aren't exactly as good as they seem. And so when you lead into the story, like after the fight and things kind of calm down, Storm's trying to collect herself. She knows she's a leader, and she knows things aren't necessarily easy for every member of her team, and she's starting to question her abilities, how much she relies on them, and just starting to question her leadership, which I think is kind of interesting. Like that was the part of the story that I started to really get into. I didn't really care for the fighting, but I started to really get interested into Storm's introspection on herself, like her looking into herself about her own changes, her reasoning for why she made these changes, why she's now like this cool biker chick versus, the Storm of old. And I found that kind of interesting. What kind of threw me off about this book, and I think what will keep me from really going forward with it, is sadly the artwork. At some points it's kind of neat, kind of quirky, but for me it feels sloppy. And it's not that it's actually sloppy work. I think it's just the art style, and it doesn't really sit well with me. It feels like I'm reading an older comic, but some people might love that. Some people might love and miss the feel of older comics. It definitely has like a 90s feel to me, which older comic. I mean, I was born basically in the late 80s. Basically, I was born in the 90s, but it just has that 90s feel to me. And I don't know if that's not really my favorite timeline of comics, to be honest. So Storm number 1, while it has a very interesting story, and I think it's going to have a great look at the character of Storm moving forward, I don't really think it's for me. As far as giving it a rating, here on the podcast we do three ratings. You either have a positive charge, meaning it's good, a neutral charge, meaning it's fine, it doesn't do anything too great or nothing wrong, and then you have a negative charge, which is I would not recommend this to my dead grandmother, or something like that. Oh, now I'm sad because I reminded myself of my dead grandma. Anyway, as for me, Storm is a neutral charge. I think it does things right. Like, it's a good story. I just think with the artwork, I just have no interest in it, and I don't think I'm going to read it going forward. The next comic book that I did check out, though, is Daredevil and Elektra, issue number 1 from this year, 2023. And this story is pretty interesting. I mean, I've never really read a Daredevil comic either, so I was picking 2 comics that I've never really checked out before in the past and wanted to give them a shot. The Daredevil book, I think, is going to get more of a shot from me because I found it kind of interesting. And definitely with the artwork in this book, reminded me a lot of, like, what is it, like a noir feeling. It reminded me of like reading, what was that book that Robert Kirkman did? Not The Walking Dead, but with demonic possession. I can't remember. But it definitely had that kind of feel to it. It definitely mystery / like noir feel that I really enjoyed. And in this comic book, I guess Daredevil and Elektra are either a couple or just very good team members. I have not been following their storyline, so I don't know what the hell's going on there. But I really dig Elektra's costume because it's very Daredevil. It's like she's Daredevil Jr. Like, she even has the DD on her, like, chest. Like, she wears it as, like, that's her emblem, which I thought was kind of funny. But I actually, not just her costume, but his costume as well. They seem very... What is the word? Like, his almost seems like he's wearing like combat boots and cargo pants. So it seems very tactile. It seems very like this is a guy who went to like the tactical store, dyed all the cool clothes red, and is now wearing it. Like, it just seemed like that to me. It seemed very real, not like tight spandex flying around with your fucking moose knuckle hanging out. So I really enjoyed the aesthetic of the book and the look of the characters, like the character designs in this. And in this story, they're investigating at this point now, is a string of murders. I guess 3 makes it a serial killer. And where the person who is doing these murders, conducting these murders, is like taking a pound of flesh from people, whether it's like an organ or skin and stuff like that. It's like creepy. And I really didn't expect that kind of thing to be happening in a Daredevil book, but here we are, right? While this investigation is going on and Daredevil, Elektra, Daredevil he thinks he knows who might know who's a part of this. So he goes to see Echo, which, hey, she's getting her own Marvel show soon, so that's kind of neat. But while all this is happening in the present, the book takes us to the past. And by the past, I mean, like, I guess the late 1800s or early 1900s. Somewhere in that time frame. I think it's late 1800s or mid 1800s, where the old Murdochs, the Murdochs of old, are dealing with their own issues in what would later become Hell's Kitchen, where Daredevil, does his round pound stuff. And so it's very interesting to kind of switch between the two, see how the past is affecting the future and the mystery of what actually happened in the past and how it connects to what's happening here in the present. So it's an interesting thing. I think I like it a little bit more because it's more of a mystery, but I love the aesthetic of the book, and I love how it's kind of making me feel, how it's making me think. I'm very interested in the characters, and I don't know if it's because I used to be religious, that kind of draws me to Matt Murdock a little bit more. But I want to see what happens. I want to see how this plays out and how it's all going to work itself out. So Daredevil, 2023's Daredevil issue number 1. Very interesting book. You definitely should check it out. That's it for the comic books. Let's move into some other stuff that I had to talk about. All right, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Up next, the thing I wanted to talk about. Holy shit, this dude about to run a red light. What the hell is going on with traffic today? Just coming up to an intersection, dude stopped like in the middle of the goddamn intersection, almost hit him. Wow. This is the most dangerous day of podcasting I've ever had. Anyway, moving on. One of the other things that I've been really consuming this past week, at least here recently, is I've been playing the new Legend of Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, and I have been having an absolute blast. And I am only, mind you, I am only in the very first part of the game. I haven't even gotten, well, I just now got all of like the initial abilities that you get. There's one where you can grab any object. It's like the metallic ability they used to have, but now it applies to pretty much any loose object. Then you have, Arise, which lets you go up and through solid objects. So it's like a way to ascend or like climb without actual climbing. I have the reverse time ability, and then I have the fuse ability. So those are like the new abilities that you get this game. You get them pretty quickly on in the game without having to do much, honestly. So I'm really enjoying it. I think it's pretty cool. The game itself is just fantastic. I mean, I don't know what other way to describe this game. It is just absolute fantastic. They took what made Breath of the Wild great, kept that in the game, and then expanded on the game. They literally, for the most part, used the exact same map that Breath of the Wild has, then gave it an upper level and a basement level for you to also explore on top of that. And I've barely scratched the surface of this game. In fact, I just made it to the surface of this game, like ground level of this game. I finally made it to that. I am currently in the process of editing like a little video of this initial journey. So just like my foray into like the first parts of this game. I don't know how much I'm going to stream it because I want to play it, and to be honest, like streaming takes a lot of time and effort, and I got to do that. Sometimes I just want to sit back, veg, and play the game. So we'll see how I handle this going forward, but it's an absolute blast, man. The ability to fuse things to weapons to make them stronger or give them like different levels of reach. Like one of my favorite things to do right now is just put spears and fuse them with other spears. And now you have just the giant ass spear, or like they have like big sticks that you can put swords or boulders on the end of them. It's so funny, but it's also just super rewarding. And it makes it, I don't know, man, it just makes it better. I don't know how else to describe that. This game just feels so much better, and it's exactly the same as Breath of the Wild. It's just got more bells and whistles to it now, and it's like I don't know if you would call Breath of the Wild like a tutorial or like an intro into this game, but like because I played Breath of the Wild, and this game pretty much is just like a souped up hyper expansion of Breath of the Wild. Like it just flows so easily for me. I don't know, but I'm just thrilled. I'm blown away by it. I am all levels of excitement for this game, and I can't wait to get even deeper into it, because so far, even with just like the not even 5% that I've played, it's probably even less than that. But the small percentage of this game that I've played, I'm already in love with it. Graphically, it still looks great. Gameplay, I've just told you, it's just spot on. And so really haven't had an interaction with too many of like the NPCs or the storyline so much. So that will be what keeps me engaged, because who's the villain? Like they talk about this person, but it doesn't seem like it's Ganon, but it might. Like I don't know. I'm curious to who the main villain is. I think we meet him in the first part of the game, but that's to be determined, I guess. I assume that's who it is, but we will have to see. But it's been a blast. I love it. If you have a Nintendo Switch and you don't have either Breath of the Wild, well, you better have Breath of the Wild for damn sure, but you definitely want to look up Tears of the Kingdom, because I think it's going to be well worth your while, man. And I can imagine myself spilling many hours into this game, way more than Pokemon. Like, I love Pokemon, don't get me wrong. Pokemon Violet was everything that I wanted it to be, and that was it. Which is still a good game, don't get me wrong, but for me, that game doesn't have replayability. It doesn't have something that keeps bringing me back that I'm just like, I'm not drawn, or I don't feel compelled to keep playing Pokemon now that I've beaten it. Like I beat the gym leaders and like the Elite Four and all that. Like I just don't have that desire to keep going. But with Breath of the Wild and the exploration of it and the rewards that you get for exploring the whole map and stuff like that, that's what keeps me preoccupied. That's what will keep me engaged with this game for a lot longer than with the Pokemon game. And that's like what these, like Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom, do right with their video game. You know, it has, it's simple but complex enough to be engaging, and it's challenging enough to like wanting you to improve. Like you feel rewarded. Like it is rewarding when you defeat a harder character. Like it doesn't feel like just someone who's just sponging all your attacks, and like it doesn't feel like an endurance test. It feels like there's actual strategy, reward, and for the things that you do in this game. And that's why I enjoy it so much. And that's why I'm just so excited to be playing it again, or well, for the first time. But it feels like, you're playing Breath of the Wild again. But yeah, so that's it for the video game stuff. But let's get into the big review, the big thing that we probably won't even spend that much time on it, but it's like the one thing I was really excited to talk about this podcast, and that's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Did I say Wasp? Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Sorry, I probably like peaked the microphone there, but this is a movie that I've heard mixed things about. Some people said, "Yo, it's great." Other people, well, I feel like the majority that I've heard of this movie is that people were underwhelmed with it. People didn't like it. It wasn't as good as the original or the first two, and so there was a lot of people that were kind of down on this movie. Me, I did not have any expectations, and probably subconsciously, due to the things that I've heard about this movie, I had lowered expectations going into this movie. And I have to say, I think those lowered expectations made this movie way more enjoyable for me, or a much more positive surprise for me, because I ended up really liking Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I thought, my initial thought was, this is a really solid movie, and it moves quickly. I never felt like it dragged on too much, and it tells the story that it wants to tell. I feel like there's not too much slack with it. There's not too much fat to it. It's all lean meat almost, and I really enjoyed that about the movie. With it, it's very quickly gets into the quantum realm. Like, we don't lollygag to get there. We get there fairly damn quickly in the movie, and it's all because of Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie. And this is like other effects of what they call the blip, when the snap. When Thanos snapped his fingers, got rid of people for 5 years, and everyone else has to deal with it. Remember, Scott Lang was actually in the quantum realm and stuck there because he, I guess, survived the snap. And based on everyone's reaction in the quantum realm, they were not affected by the snap. But so Cassie, who didn't have a father, was trying to find him, but knew he was in the quantum realm, so was studying and learning more and more about the quantum realm to try to find her father, Scott. Well, through that, she develops a way to communicate with the quantum realm, to put a signal out there. That signal is what alerts our villain of this movie, Kang, to the presence of Earth and our universe and dimension and stuff. And so that's what brings them in there. It turns out that Hank Pym's wife, is it Janet Van Dyne? Janet. She has a history down there. She was in there for 30 years. Based off of what we learn of the first movie, she ends up getting lost in the quantum realm when she goes subatomic and spends 30 years down there. And so she's kind of like their link between their world and the quantum realm, and kind of introduces us to other characters and other players. And Scott and Cassie get introduced to a whole nother faction that's against Kang and his group, and like, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil it. It's on Disney Plus right now. You can watch it if you have the service, and I recommend you do. If you've been on the fence about it and holding off on it, why? If you have Disney Plus, why are you wasting time not watching it? You know, it's essentially free for you. You're not gonna have to pay anything extra to go watch it. So go check it out. I really enjoyed it. There's, of course, we know MODOK is in here, and the character that I did not recognize who they had to play MODOK. I'd only seen a few pictures, but when it's revealed who it is and how he became, like, actually kind of disturbing. But like, his character and the character of MODOK is really funny because I don't think there's any other way you could kind of play this character who, there's just no other way to do it. I think they did a very damn good job of doing it the way they did. Although, like, his, how would you say this? His, like, the last moments of his screen time before he no longer has any more screen time, I don't know, maybe got a little too jokey, but, like, I don't know, it's because of the character, and the character's probably not all there because of the things that he's gone through. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was enjoyable. I think what was the big standout for me in this movie was the relationship between Scott and Cassie, and just getting to see them work together and work with and around each other was a lot of fun. You know, I think other than that, though, a lot of what happens is kind of forgettable. Even, like, although Kang is supposed to be like the lead up to the next big Marvel movie event, it just, I don't know, like, his character, like, don't get me wrong, despite the actor's real life problems, I guess that's the one way to say it, he acts fucking great in this movie. Like, he acts the hell out of Kang and leaves a lasting impression. You know, though his mannerisms, the way the character is quietly intimidating. And I don't know if that's because he has real world practice. Who knows? But I enjoyed the character of Kang. I thought it was menacing. I thought it was somewhat, like, it was hard to tell based on the things that information he was giving you versus his actions. Was he really the good guy in this scenario? Or was he the bad guy? Like, was he the one that we needed to stop, or was he the one that we needed our help with? And so that was, like, the real interesting aspect of trying to figure out who Kang the Conqueror was in this movie. And going forward, like, I don't know what Marvel's plans are going forward with this. We've heard different rumors that the only reason why they decided to make this next set of phases surround Kang the Conqueror is because of the actor's performance. Like, we've heard rumors of that. So what was their original plan? Will they go back to that? Are they going to recast? Like, what's going to happen? So that's kind of the questions going forward. But like I said, despite this guy's, Jonathan Majors, I think that's his name. Despite, you know, him being pretty much a dick and doing something awful, like, the acting portion of it was very good. And, like, I don't know, man, like, I didn't want to like it, and I think that's why it surprised me more that I liked it, because it was just that good. And I wish he was a good person who didn't do bad things, because then we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would all be really happy with what's going on, and, you know, there would be no questions going forward. We would be like, hey, Ant-Man and the Wasp, maybe not 100% awesome, but was a great foundation for this next phases. But because of all the problems that I think are going to be coming forward with it now, you know, that leaves us with these questions of, like, well, why did they do this and stuff like that. Overall, though, I think this movie was very solid. It didn't run long. It had a lot of funny moments without being too over the top funny. And I think it had some good heartfelt moments in there. Like I said, the stuff with Scott and his daughter, I really enjoyed. And I really loved their dynamic. And I'm excited to see what Cassie does next. But I don't know, man. We'll have to see where the Marvel universe goes from here. Like, where do they take the characters, and how do they move forward? Like that's gonna be the big question for me. But I liked it. As far as the charge goes for this one, I definitely give it a positive charge for me. I think you should watch it. Like, I strongly suggest you watch it if you've been on the fence, because I think it will surprise you. No, it does not capture the magic of the first movie. I think what made the first movie great was not only like the character of Scott Lang, but his supporting cast. They were really funny. It was a cool heist movie, and like we wanted a cool heist movie. I guess that's like what we want to see from our Ant-Man stuff because of the character of Scott Lang. He's a thief, a burglar, but now he's more than that. And they kind of address that in a little bit of a way. Like, they make jokes at him of being an Avenger, a quote-unquote Avenger, and stuff like that. And so, like, there's some funny jokes on the character of Ant-Man that make the movie enjoyable and funny. And so that way, Scott doesn't take himself too seriously, but you can see the struggle. I liked it a lot, though, guys, and I think if you watch it, you like it too. So, I mean, I'm not a professional, okay? So don't take my words to the bank. Just know I'm a guy who's a fan of Marvel movies and just fun movies, and this movie was, 1, a Marvel movie, and 2, a fun movie. So there you go. That's my review. It's a Marvel movie, and it's a fun movie. With that being said, that's really all that I had to talk to you guys about today. Hopefully you enjoyed everything. I'm just happy the rest of my drive home was uneventful. But hopefully I can say the same for you guys, that you had a mostly uneventful day, maybe even an enjoyable eventful day. Just not a bad eventful day. That's the only thing I don't want for you guys. I want you all to be happy and smiling and listening to my podcast. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, you can like the podcast. Like, there are buttons that you can press to say, hey, I like this thing. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And if you want to talk with me, you want to throw comments my way or suggestions my way or things you think I should be checking out that you don't think I am, you can always hit me up on all my social media. Everything is at Bry-Fy Podcast. That's Bryfy Podcast. And you can also find me on Twitch, where I stream games. Right now I'm playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, if you haven't guessed. That is twitch.tv/The Bry-Fy. You can find me there doing that. And I'm on YouTube. Just search The Bry-Fy Podcast on YouTube. Eventually you'll find one of my videos and everything. I post highlights of me playing video games over there. So if you don't want to sit and watch Twitch videos for an hour or so, however I play, you can get a very quick version of that over on YouTube, where I condense the stream down into just like 2 to 3 minutes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And then also don't forget, tomorrow, Friday through Sunday, that's May 26th through the 28th. 26th to the 28th, I'll be at Comicpalooza at the George R. Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston, Texas. On Saturday at 3 p.m., I'll be on the main podcast stage, so you can come down. There's some chairs. Just take a break, man. I know lunch is just right before that. You'll probably be, a little full from eating, so you probably want to take a nap, go Mimi's, come to the show. I'll be quiet. We'll be enjoyable. I'll just do a nice, relaxing 45-minute set, and then we can move on from there. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I know I kept telling you, hey, guys, don't worry. Next week I'm going to have an idea. Next week I'm going to have plans. And now it's next week, and I have procrastinated the entire time. And so we don't have any of those set. But I promise I got to figure something out, because 2 days is the day I'm doing this on the podcast floor, the panel floor. So I got to figure something out. But that's it for the episode this week. I will talk to you guys next week with a post recap of Comicpalooza 2023. Bry-Fy out.